Hello. Um, Another little video, turning into quite a little video star, aren't I? Oh. But I've had a few questions. A couple of people would like to get a bit more in depth with how you make that saddle back on the handle. Bun, the spoon, he called it the saddle back. I don't know if it's ever been called anything else. But it basically dips down and then up to the bowl and then down into the bowl. How do you carve that and get the underside something nice to go with it? So we're going to do this. We're going to have a go at it. No guarantees this will be any clearer here than it was on my videos, but this is the spoon that we're going to do it to. This is a nice big Banksia serving spoon that I'm making. And I'm making this spoon because I tried doing this with some poplar, and it was such horrible wood, so you couldn't see what I was doing, and it was an eating spoon, so it was too small anyway. So after 2 attempts, this is the third time lucky. Here we go. So what we're trying to do here is look, I've even got some props. So we're actually going to try and put this line in up here, this line A. We're going to try and define the top surface. You know, if you watch my carving at Polly's place video, I like to define the top surface, the shape of the spoon. That tells you everything. You've got that shape, but then you've got that shape, and it's that top surface, the surface facing me now, that to me everything else hangs off. All right, I don't understand why some people would carve the back of the spoon and then do that, because that's the doing bit. That's where everything is. So why not start there? Anyway, so what we're going to do is, and I'll try and talk you through this, is first thing we're going to do is we're going to imagine there's, there we are, a line down the middle of the spoon like that. And then, like when you're carving with an axe, you take the corners off. So we're going to take this corner off, and at the same time we're going to define that line that dips down and then comes back up. And we're going to do that by taking that corner off. Then we're going to take that corner off and do that edge on that side. That will leave us something like this diagram here, except it would be square on the back because we haven't got there yet. But the top would now have a ridge down the middle of it. And we'll talk about that perhaps in another video. But right now we're going to make that top surface flat, and then we're going to make the underside surface flat with the saddle back in it. And then we'll talk about things you can do, facets on both sides, round on one side, faceted on the top, double round, reverse, ridged, reversed, all those things that you can do after you've done that. So we'll go to the spoon now, put my top end teaching aids. I used to be a first aid teacher, and they taught me, you know, appeal to people's ears, their eyes and their hands. We're doing that. So what we're going to do is we're going to come from about here. We're going to take, I don't know if you can see that, but this Banksia was so dark when I opened it up that I had to use yellow. But anyway, I think you can just see that. That's the line we're going to do. Just a nice gentle curve. You can play around with where you have the deepest point. The deepest point is here. You could have a really steep curve up here, deepest point here, and then it just comes right up, so it's more like a thumb tab on the end. You can play with that, do whatever you want with that. But what we're going to do is we're going to come up and we're going to parallel that center line and take that entire corner off, and I'm going to leave just enough in the middle for the pencil line to stay on. I'm not going to take the pencil line out. This is why I've got the pencil line there. It tells me don't go beyond this point. When you get good at it, your eyes, you can see where the end point is. But for now, let's just stick with it. It's really hard when you're carving like this to come in effectively on the end grain. You can do it, but it can go funny. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off that way, and then that gives me a landing to come in on. Ooh. And what I'm doing is I'm doing a scoop cut, coming in, biting, pushing the blade backwards so that I'm now riding the bevel along there, and then at the same time slicing, push even further and surf that blade out of the wood. It's not hard to do. You get the hang of it. Once you get the hang of it, it's hard to do a straight cut from then. You end up cutting curvy lines. Oh, this is great because you can see the two different coloured bits of wood there. You can see the bit I've just taken out. Come back up this end. Now I'm basically looking at both surfaces while I'm doing this. I'm following that line, and we need to be, you'd think it'd just take a little bit more out there. Yeah, let's flatten that out there, so we need to go a bit deeper. We've also got to try and make this line nice and smooth. So that'll do for there. I'll take this off. Yeah, that'll do for now. So now we're going to do this side. We're going to come down, then we're going to come up, and we're coming up here, so don't come up too early. We're going to try and again weigh this side up against that side. This is the sort of thing, if you've got a piece of poplar or something really soft, it just comes off in, once you've started it, it just comes off in long flakes coming off like that. It's fun to do. You have to do violence on yourself to stop from just keep going and whittle the whole thing away. That's when you're whittling. Righto, take that to there. Look at that side, nice. Lowest is there. It's a bit flatter over here, so we'll just flatten that side out a little bit. That'll do. Now, as you can see, we've got two facets. with a ridge in the middle. Now we take the ridge out, following that line. So what we're going to try and do is we're going to take it down to there on either side and keep something like a 3 or 4 millimeter facet. I'm sort of doing flat top, and what that'll do is eventually we'll be able to come in here and it'll form a little V, and then we'll have a ridge running down there. That looks quite nice. So we'll try and see if we can't talk it into doing that, which means I'll go back to here and I'll move that ridge, just the ridge line. I'm not carving on here, I'm just taking some off this ridge line here and making that, just roughing in that little peak down to the handle. You can sort of see where it goes now. So starting up here, if you've gone down the same on either side, you're working off those edges now. So if these facets are the same, you should be flat, and we're not far off. That's good. That's good. A bit more off here there. As you can see, we've now defined a nice gentle saddleback. Just a little curve down and then coming up and over into, see if I can get it side on, that's it. Just a little run down, up and down and away. So, the back. Because now what we're going to do is, we're going to leave a little piece here. This is like this rim on the bowl. We're going to leave a landing. It's called a land. We're going to leave a land on here of about 3 millimeters all the way up. And we're going to take this surface down to within 3 or 4 millimeters of that. We'll do the same as we did with that actually. We'll come in here . That's our land. There. Curve up. This is a nice, we'll leave this faceted. We'll leave that nice edge there. Sometimes, and it's happening here a little bit, because you're dipping down, you're actually starting to get a bit of grain transition happening up here. So you have to be careful. You can't just whack a left chest lever grip on it and go woofta. Because if you're suddenly going up grain here, where you've dipped down, you'll take this entire end of the spoon off. So approach it carefully until you know what's going on. I know I'll be able to take that side off. So chest lever grip that. There's our land there. So we come back this way. Yeah, there was a little bit of grain transitioning. I picked that up earlier when we were on the top, and in here it happened. I had to carve down a little bit more. There's a lump there. Ha, gotcha. Now, leave yourself plenty of land at the moment. Don't take it too small, because when we come to fine carve, it's like the bowl rim here. By the time we come to fine carve up this end, this land here and this edge, we want plenty to play with. Okay, so we're going to do the same on this side. Cross the angle, start at about the same place there, cut in. And slightly steeper end going in, about the same coming out. Excuse me, you might not be able to see this. Just doing a thumb lever push on it. Like I said in my earlier videos, I like to get things somewhere really close, even at this early stage, because when you're weighing up things down here, if these are out, if these are sitting at a funny angle, it'll draw your eye away and it'll make this look as though it's leaning that way. It's counterintuitive, and you'll end up carving off true. That'll do for there. No, that needs to come down more. Remember the trick of looking sideways? One side dips down quicker, that side dips down, the thumb tab dips down quicker than that side. So we're going to have to take, before we go defining that bottom edge, now the transition come out there then. Define the land, the rough land, this is not the finished one. Follow that up. Now, it looks all right there. It looks all right there. What's wrong with that? It's fat. It's way too fat. There's no grace in it. So, we're going to take some off this side, and we're going to reduce those facets down to about 2/3 of what they are now, whatever that is. Watching the facets on both sides. Yeah. Taking it down so now the grain transitions move down the handle. You have to keep an eye on that, otherwise it'll trip you up. See where the little V, remember this little V here? It was up to here, now we've come down to there, and we'll have a look. And yes, it's starting to look all right. We're getting down into that corner. Thinking ahead. I've got to do something interesting in that corner later. I don't know what. Maybe nothing. Depends on the spoon. And I say that because why spend time putting finials and little nicked cuts and chip carving and all of that on it, when with this timber, the shape as it's going to be drop dead gorgeous as it is. So that's me getting carried away there, but right, that's the top. Now the bottom. I'm going to sort this top out later. I'm worried about the handle itself at the moment. Make sure that your top and bottoms are parallel. For a spoon this size, you don't want to go too thin, but this here, this needs to come, this needs looking at, so we'll take some out of that. Right, what I'm doing now, why I've started, I've come up to here, and I might even end up to here at the moment. I know we're supposed to be doing here, but now I'm looking at the line from the front right the way down. I'm looking at the line, and this looks like some sort of dinosaur in here, and this is its front. Well, it's not supposed to be a dinosaur, so we'll thin it down a bit. We've got quite a bit of thickness here, strong there. We can go down at least another 4 or 5 mil. Then we're going to pull it down. Now I'm coming back up here. Have a look. Yeah. Now what's quite interesting about this here on the back, if you slavishly, if you follow that and make it the same all the way through, it can look too light compared to the size of the bowl. So do you see that bump there? I'm going to leave that in. It's going to sweep up, and then there's going to be a slight swelling there, and that should sit just on top of the hand, between the fingers when you're holding it, which makes it less likely to slide out of somebody's fingers. And I'm going to round this off underneath because it's nice and smooth. So I'm going to take that edge off while I'm moving things around. I might as well take edges off at the same time. And coming down. just touch on it. Doesn't matter at the moment, but we've got a bit to play with. But when we're fine carving this, which won't be for another week, we'll really move all these edges into their final position. But we're getting the shape. Smooth, 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 smooth. Nice little smoothing cuts. Smoothing cuts. You can find bumps, there's little ridges. Ride the back of the bevel so it doesn't cut, then just bring the front of the knife down till it starts to skate across the surface. And what it'll do, it'll take off the tops of all the little hills. And then you do it again and shave them down slowly. And you get a nice smooth finish. And because of all that rubbing, when it's final carving on a dry spoon, because that bevel rubbing backwards and forwards, you get a nice burnish on it too. You always give it a bit more, of course, but still there. Especially on something like hickory wattle, it just takes the shine so well. Have another look. It's still a bit thick, isn't it? Oh, I can see what's wrong. This top edge here lumps up, and it's making it look thick when it actually isn't. So we'll look along, sight along, that's a bit better. And that there. That didn't help. You know, there are people in the world that can do this in 3 strokes. Samurai master sloiders. Hi, done. I'm not one. Chip, 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 carve, carve, carve. I can just imagine being one of those ninja sloiders. Chip, 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 finished. Now what am I gonna do? Be forever bored. I've done it. Just bringing lines in now. Just the light's not too good, so I'm not going to get too carried away with it, and I'm going to be able to do it still want a bit more out of there. Now we've lost that nice little edge here, so we'll put that, we'll define here, it's got to come up more of an upsweep there. Not all the way, because that edge, that facet edge is going to do that for us as well. But just make sure that they're all right. because we're going to smooth the back over here, we'll smooth this edge off here, and that will become our defining line. And that's pretty much it. That's how you put a saddleback onto a large cooking spoon. It doesn't have to be so in your face that it looks ugly. You can go too far, but that's up to you. That's your aesthetic. What it is you're trying to do with what we've just learnt. Now you can see that that has changed the entire feel of that spoon, especially when you look down here. Like that. If I hold it like that, then you can see. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? It's like a boat. It's got the beautiful lines of a boat. Thank you very much for watching. Catch you next time.